أعزائي طلاب الصف الأول الثانوي، تحية طيبة. أرحب بكم في منهج الصف الأول الثانوي للأحياء باللغة الإنجليزية لكي نستعرض سويا منهج الصف الأول الثانوي باللغة الإنجليزية. Dear student, greetings for me, Mr. Hatem, biology teachers, can explaining you about the first semesters about the main component of living organism. Starting first one, we can classify the living organism. We can classify the living organism in two categories. First one, atoms, some types of molecules is consisted of. First one, it can classify the levels of living organism. And first one, each molecule consists of a group of atoms. Second, each organelle consists of a group of molecules. The cells is consisted of a group of organelles. Each tissue consists of a group of cells. Each cells consists of a group of tissue, and each organ it consists of a group of cells. Each system consists of a group of organs. The body of living organism consists of a group of organs. That's integration together to give survive of living organism. That means that أن الإنسان يتكون من خلية هي الوحدة البنائية الأساسية supporting with the tissue. The group of tissue is consisted of conforming to the first, second types of it's called organs. After the organs, a group of organs integrate together, forming the system, connection system together, forming the living organism. We can classify the substance that enters the structures of living organism. Okay? Organic substance, inorganic substance. Organic substance, main component that enters the structures of the organic substance, carbon and hydrogens. That means that is carbon and hydrogen essentials to enter the structures of a organic substance. But in organic substance, not essentials carbon and hydrogen. Maybe hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, another substance. We can differentiating between the organic molecules and the organic molecules into types of elements, carbon and hydrogen, essential or organic. For example, organic substance, carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, nucleic acid. Inorganic substance such as mineral salts, sodium chloride, NaCl. Okay? That means that if two types, organic substance مواد عضوية, non-organic غير عضوية. Organic substance enter the structures of living organisms such as proteins. Okay? That's mean in English as the same in Arabic. Lipids, الدهون, proteins, nucleic acid, الأحماض النووية such as RNA and DNA. Okay. After that, okay, not all molecules that contain hydrogen or carbon atoms or both of are considered organic molecules. Examples: water molecule, not organic; carbon dioxide, not organic; calcium carbonate, not organic; sodium bicarbonate, not organic. Okay. We can ask you about, can apply it, this point. You understood carefully or no? Test yourself. Listen be carefully and ask you a questions about this point can explaining in the past. First one, which of the following representing the highest structures living in the elephant body? That's mean first one, the muscular tissue, B, the stomach, C, the nervous system, the food. Answers, please take your times. Okay, this answers nervous system. Why nervous system? Because the nervous system is consisted of a group of organs, and the organ consists of a group of cells and a group of tissue, and cells is consisted of a group of tissue. We can classify the molecules on biological macromolecules and the biological micromolecules. What is the differentiations between macromolecules and micromolecules? Okay, macromolecules, large molecules; micromolecule, small molecules. That means that macro, big size, that's large; micro, small size. Okay, all of them contain carbon element, biological macromolecules. They are extremely necessary for the life of the living organism, such as carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. Okay? Most biological macromolecules called polymers. That means that the polymers consists of a group of monomers. Monomer plus monomer plus monomers, in the end, give us polymers. It is this process, it's called polymerization. What's the meaning of the polymerization? Polymerization, that means that a group of monomers combine to each other in a group of reactions and finally give us polymers. It's called polymerizations. Okay? Origin of word polymers, a Greek word. What the meaning of a Greek word? كلمة يونانية. That consists of two parts. Poly, that means that the multi, يعني عديد بالعربي. And mirror, okay, sorry, and the mirror, which it means part I dot E. What the mean that I dot E? هو بمعنى آخر multi parts of multi units. Another meaning of this. Okay. The origin of word. Okay. Second part. Okay. We can classify biological macromolecules into carbohydrate, enter the structure of the cells. Lipids, enter the structure of the cells. Proteins and the nucleic acid enter the structure of the cells. Carbohydrates, it's formed inside the green leaf by photosynthesis process. You study it previously from grade 2 or grade 3 in the primary stage. Okay. Carbohydrates is considered from the main component that enter the structures of the photosynthesis process. The plant autotrophic make carbohydrates inside its cells. The main component of carbohydrate, glucose, and the storage inside the plant cells in a form of starch. So the glucose is stored inside the plants in a form of the starch. Number 2, lipids. Main component of the lipids only that means that in over there monomers. Lipids is considered monomers. Carbohydrate considered monomers. Lipids is considered polymers. What the meaning of the polymers? Large macromolecules. Main components, it's called lipids, fatty acid plus glycerols. What the meaning of the glycerols? Glycerols, that means that alcohol is consisted of 3 hydroxyl group, OH, 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 3 hydroxyl groups. Protein, biological macromolecules. Small molecules, it consists of amino acid. Is the main component in the structure of the proteins. Fourth, nucleic acid is consisted of main nucleotides enter the structures of the nucleic acid. Now we are studying and explaining carefully about the carbohydrate. First one, what's the meaning of carbohydrate? Can I ask you about the questions? Carbohydrate, the main component enters the structures of the living organism. You can need energy every day and storage in the form of ATP. This energy is stored inside the living organism by oxidation of glucose. That means that glucose enters the structures of the carbohydrate. Glucose is essential for life. Why? Because it oxidizes inside the cells, producing a large amount of energy that is stored in the form of ATP molecules. Okay? Okay? What's the meaning of the biological macromolecules, organic molecules, and the organic inorganic molecules are present in the human body within the meal we eat. Example, in the meal in front of you. Beans and cheese are considered two sources which are rich in proteins. Number 2, milk. Products such as cheese is one of the sources which is rich in fats. Cheese is rich in fats, such as lipids, vitamins, and mineral salts, besides all which is a source of fats. Number 3, bread, carbohydrates, plus pastries. What's the meaning of the pastries? المخبوزات اللي احنا بناكلها زي الكيك، العيش او الحاجات دي. Okay? Which is made up of wheat flours. What's the meaning of wheat flours? دقيق القمح. And corn, one of the sources which are rich in carbohydrate and mineral salts. Okay? Carbohydrates and the proteins and lipids. Carbohydrates is found in sweet potatoes, eggplant and pea, kidney beans, whole grains such as wheat, rice, and corn, fruits, honey, jam, proteins in egg, cheese, yogurt, milk, chicken, fish, meat, legumes such as beans. What's the meaning of the legumes? البقوليات such as beans, pea, lupins اللي هو الترمس. Okay. lipids, egg, yolk. What's the meaning of yolk? اللي هو صفار البيض. yolk صفار البيض. storage inside the storage inside the eggs. Okay. avocado, it's storage the lipids. butters, what the meaning of butters? زبدة. full creams, yogurt, vegetable oils, nuts, what the meaning of nuts? مكسرات. dark chocolate, avocado. Okay. Test yourself. I ask you about a questions to apply it. You understood the last or the previous components that's explaining for you. Choose the correct answers. If you have a meal that's composed of pasta and red meat, thus it's rich, take in your considerations. In this questions, there is a sequence starting with meals composed of pasta, that's mean carbohydrates, red meat, protein, thus it's rich, okay, carbohydrate and lipids. If you have a meal that's composed of pasta and red meat, pasta, carbohydrate, red meat, proteins, choose the best correct answers, A, B, C, or D. Okay, pasta, carbohydrates, and red meat, it's called proteins. The best answers, correct, C. Number 2, questions number 2. Which of the following are not considered from the monomers? Okay, fatty acid, nucleic acid, amino acid, monosaccharide. Maybe some students thought or memorize what from this is considered polymers. Polymers, large molecules. Monomers, small molecules. Fatty acid, small molecules. Yeah, small molecules. Amino acid, small molecules. Yeah, enter the structure of the proteins. Nucleic acid, no, polymers. It consists of nucleotides. Nucleotides, main component of the nucleic acid. Monosaccharides, monosaccharides such as glucose, enter the structure of carbohydrates. So the best answer, it's called nucleic acids, polymers. Okay? Carbohydrate are biological macromolecules made up of small molecules. What's the means of the small molecules? Glucose or monosaccharide. So the carbohydrates is large molecule, polymers. And the small molecules, it's called monosaccharide. Monosaccharide, such as glucose. Okay? The general formula of the carbohydrates, okay? CH2 pi N. What's the meaning of N? Number of carbon atoms. أي عدد ذرات الكربون enter the structure of the monosaccharides. For example, glucose, C6H12O6. What is the ratio between the carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen? 1, 2, 2, 1. That means that the hydrogen duplicate both of carbon and oxygens. Okay? For example, carbohydrates, starch, and monosaccharide. You know that glucose essentials, main components, is considered monomer, enters the structures all carbohydrates, starting from the mono or complex or polysaccharide. Okay. From the general formula of the monosaccharides, is find that the simple N indicate the number of CH2O units entering in the structure of the monosaccharide. For example, in the glucose C6H12O6, the samples N equals 6, and so numbers equal 6. The number of carbons, it's half number of hydrogen, and the number of oxygens, it have numbers of the hydrogens. Okay? We can classify the carbohydrate into simple sugars. It can two types, two branches: monosaccharide, disaccharide, and the second part polysaccharide. This point يبقى هنا نقدر نقول ان الكربوهيدرات is classified into simple and complex. Simple two types. يعني ايه two types؟ two types. monosaccharide سكريات احاديه، disaccharide سكريات ايه؟ ثنائيه. رايت. جميل رائع. اوكي. carbohydrates. اوكي. monosaccharides such as glucose, grapes sugars found in the grapes اللي هو العنب. fructose, fruit sugars found in the fruits. galactose found in the milk. ribose enters the structures of nucleic acid. So its ribose is called pentose sugars. What's the meaning of pentose sugars? 5 carbons يعني سكر خماسي. Okay. Disaccharide. What the meaning of disaccharide? You can understanding from this meaning of this word. Disaccharide is connecting of two monosaccharide by combinations. For example, lactose, maltose, saccharose. Complex sugars, polysaccharides such as starch, cellulose, and glycogen. Okay. Simple sugars. What's the general characteristics of the simple sugars? ما هي الصفات العامة للسكريات الأحادية؟ هنقول number 1 soluble in waters. Yeah, it's soluble in waters. Glucose soluble in waters. Having low molecular weights. Having low molecular weights does mean having low molecular weights الوزن الجزيئي light خفيف. Having often a sweet taste. يعني having often a sweet taste في الغالب بتبقى طعمها مسكر حلو. طيب their types. Monosaccharides they are made of one molecules only which is consisted of chain of carbons atoms from 3 to 6. All monosaccharides the minimum number of carbons ranging between 3 to 6 not exceed than this. يعني ما تقلش عن 3 وما تزيدش عن 6. That means that not exceed from 6 and low from 3. Therefore the monosaccharide considers a simplest type of sugars. Disaccharide, they add more of 2 molecules of monosaccharides, thus forming the disaccharides molecule. Mono plus mono, and finally give us disaccharide. Okay. For examples, first one we can take lactose intolerance. It's digestive disorders, which is characterized by the inability to digest lactose milk sugars. Lactose is found in the milk due to the absence of the decreasing in the lactose enzymes, which is responsible for lactose digestions. What's the meaning of lactose digestions؟ يعني هضم اللاكتوز. اللاكتوز ده موجود فين؟ في اللبن، في الملك، عبارة عن جلوكوز بلس جلاكتوز 2 monosaccharide and lactose disaccharide. Okay? Which result is occurrence of the dihydrate bloating and abdominal cramps. يبقى في مشكلة في الابdominal cramps not at the ability to digest it, the lactose. Okay. Maybe some students ask me, misters, in a small intestine, maybe cramps, okay, maybe, okay, cramps, it's okay inside the small intestine. So, is disorders, it's okay inside the small intestine, so the digestion process, it's make disordered inside it. In order to avoid the symptoms, if a person who is suffering from lactose intolerance, take a tablespoon of lactose enzyme before eating any one of the milk products. Also, children who suffering from this case can take the soy milk. Soy milk, where is structure depending on the soya beans. That's first from one. Now we can explaining by details what the meaning of disaccharide. Disaccharide, lactose. It consists of glucose plus galactose. It's found in milk sugars. Maltose, it consists of 2 molecules of glucose. So the highest amount of energy it found in lactose. Why? The highest amount of energy it found in lactose. ليه أعلى طاقة موجودة في المالتوز؟ Why? لأن المالتوز بيحتوي على 2 molecules من الجلوكوز، والجلوكوز essentials enter the structures of the monosaccharides. Saccharose, okay, glucose plus fructose. Five additions of the lactose. It found the milk sugars. مالتوز مال شوجرز سكر الشعير، تمام؟ سكر الشعير. اوكي. سكروز كين شوجرز سكر القصب. اوكي. كي بوينتس بليز. monosaccharide sugars is linked together by a monosaccharide sugars in removal of 1 molecule of waters. Very important point. Please pay attention, please, dear student, in this point. Why the 1 molecule of waters is removed during pointed or bending between 2 molecules of sugars? Why? To bending the 2 molecules of sugars must be found in the bonds. The bonds is found in this, it's called glycoside bond in Arabic, الرابطه الجلايكوسيديه بتربط بين 2 molecule of sugars اللي هي المونوساكرايدز، بنقول عليها اسمها جلايكوسايد بوند. It's bonding between 2 molecules من السكريات الأحادية. يبقى that means that glucose plus glucose removal 1 molecule of waters. Okay? Ask you about the questions. If we needed to bending 9 monomers together to give the polymers, what is the number of water molecules are removed? The number of water removes equals number of monomers minus 1. That means that enter the structure of the monomer 9 polymers, 9 monomers. Number of water molecules 8. Why? Between 2 molecules of monosaccharides, removal 1 molecule of waters. So it's glycoside bonds, it's occurred between them to bonding each other, forming disaccharide, polysaccharide. Okay? Okay. For examples, C6H12O6 glucose molecules bonding with another glucose molecules, C6H12O6. Finally, removal 1 molecule of waters. The chemical formula of the saccharose, that's C6H12O6 plus C6H12O6. Okay, the source of molecules C12H12H22O11. Why? Because the removal 1 molecules of water H2O removal from between the bonding of 2 molecules of glucose. Okay. More than monosaccharide sugars as linked together forming the complex sugars. It's called polysaccharide. That means that glucose plus glucose. More than 2, it's called polysaccharide. Only 2 glucose, it's called disaccharides. These are the differentiations between the monosaccharide and disaccharide, polysaccharide. Monosaccharide plus monosaccharides, it's called disaccharide. Monosaccharide plus more than 1, it's called polysaccharides. For example, starch, cellulose, and glycogens are stored in the form in the liver in form of glycogens. Okay? Examples: 4 glucose molecules as linked together. We can see it before. From polysaccharide sugars, their waters molecules are eliminated. What the meaning of eliminated? اتنزعت أو اتخذت أو طلعت from the sugars. Their waters molecules are eliminated during the reactions. I.E وهذا بمعنى آخر 6 hydrogen atoms and 3 oxygens role of monosaccharide in energy production process inside the living organism. Cells during glucose oxidations inside the cells in mitochondria, the following it occurs. Inside the mitochondria, specific type of the hormones, this point very important. I think this point it's not studied this years, but inshallah next years in the third years, in the third years we can study the hormone insulin. Hormone insulin play an important role to take the oxygens, to take the glucose inside the cell to make oxidation. This process it's occur inside mitochondria. It's occur inside mitochondria. Okay, inside the mitochondria, glucose molecules it's oxidized by helping oxygens. Many process it occurs inshallah next years in the second stage. You explaining this about the respirations in Krebs cycles. Okay, what happened of glucose? It's oxidized by helping of glucose. It's oxidized by helping oxygens and producing energy. Sequence of energy. Take in your consideration this point very very important. Sequence of energy. التسلسل بتاع الطاقة بيجي ازاي؟ Sequence of energy. First one, glucose. Okay, energy. After that, ATP ending with energy. That means that energy releasing from glucose, first one, and stored in the form of ATP. What the meaning of ATP? Adenosine triphosphate. In English, in Arabic, it's the same. ATP, adenosine triphosphate. It's called, and this ATP is standard universal currency of energy in the cells. العملة الأساسية للطاقة. That means that عملة عاملة زي الجنيه كده اللي أنت بتشتري بيه حاجات. سوري في اللفظ. تمام؟ Okay. That means that ATP standard universal currency of energy inside the cell. Come from oxidation of the glucose. So again, I repeated this point. It's very important. Sequence of energy starting with Number 1, glucose, energy. ATP, again, energy. Okay? Structures for illustrations, ATP. ATP, pentose sugars plus adenines, double ring, it's called purines, and 3-phosphate groups, P plus P plus P. Okay? Which of the following representing the molecular formula of the polymers that's formed the binding of 5 molecules of the sugars? X. 5 molecules of sugars. That means that which of the following representing the molecular formula of polymers that's formed from the binding of 5 molecules of sugar X. Okay? 5 molecules of sugar X, that means that when bending 5 molecules, the number of hydrogen atoms it removed for H2O. 5 number of hydrogen that's eliminated, it's 4. يعني معنى كده ان لما يحصل bending بين 5 molecules of the glucose بيحصل bending من 5 molecules of water, 4 molecules of waters. Waters chemical formula H2O. يبقى number of hydrogen 4 by 2 equal 8H and equal 4O. Okay. يبقى the best correct answers C30 H equal كام؟ numbers of 3 C30 H 32 O16s or C30 5 number 5 يبقى 6 5 by 6 equal 30 4 equal 26. The best correct answer is C. Why is C? Because removals of 5 bending 5 molecules of sugars, removals 4 molecules of waters, the total number of oxygen that removed or 4 molecules and 8 molecules of waters by subtracting from the C30 14s 62 O 13s, يبقى total numbers of the chemical formula C30 H52 O 26. The best correct answer C. Complex sugars. What's the meaning of the complex sugars? It's called polysaccharide. Consists of more 1 molecule of glucose. It consists of 1 molecule of glucose. Glucose plus glucose plus glucose. It consists of 1 molecule, more than 1 molecule of glucose. The ending, it gives us polysaccharide, such as starch, glycogen, and cellulose. Okay? Complex sugars, polysaccharide. What's the properties of the polysaccharides? Number 1, insoluble in waters. For example, starch. We can take the starch and putting in the glass of waters. It's soluble? No. لو احنا خدنا النشا وحطيناها في الواترز, no occurs for the soluble waters. Starch, it's insoluble in waters. Okay? Having high molecular weight comparison with the monosaccharides low molecular weight. Okay? Chemical formula, there's molecular structure. They are made up of many molecules of monosaccharides. For example, starch, cellulose, glycogen. Each molecule of them consists of the molecules linked together by different way. At the same way of the bending, removal 1 molecule of waters between H2 molecule of monosaccharides. Okay? Key point, complex sugars differ in the types of the chain from which they are formed, where starch is coiled and less branched chains, while the cellulose is long, straight, and up branched chains. The difference between starch and cellulose chain. Okay? Finally, okay, choose the correct answers. The normal sequence of the producing energy inside the corn plant. I said before, glucose, starch, or glucose ATP. The best answer from this, okay, glucose and ATP. Glucose, starch, ATP, glucose, starch, glucose, ATP. The best answer, okay, it's called glucose from must be give us into glucose. Glucose, starch, glucose, ATP. The best answer is C. The starch from the polysaccharide and using the sweetening behaviors. The two statement, okay, no. Starch is from the polysaccharide and not sweetening. First statement is correct, and second statement is wrong. Which of the following doesn't producing the symmetric polymers in the hydrolysis? Okay, it's called glycogens or saccharose, starch, maltose. That means that saccharose, because the starch and glycogen and maltose, all in consists of only monosaccharides, but saccharose in different types, glucose plus fructose. This part ending the polysaccharide and the monosaccharide. Next lessons explaining the main components of the lipids and study the lipids plus protein. Thanks for you. Greetings from me, Mr. Hatim, biology teachers. I see you later in next times with best happy for you. Thanks. Goodbye.